This is your own story. You are a child of Adam. This channel exists so that you can understand how your journey began, how humanity took its first steps into darkness and consequence, and how every generation after Adam inherited not just life, but choice. Stay with this story, because it is not about them alone. It is about you, about how you arrived here, and about what still lives inside the descendants of Adam today. After the ground drank the blood of Abel, silence fell over the earth in a way it never had before. The wind moved, the trees stood, the sky remained unchanged, yet something irreversible had happened. Creation itself seemed to hesitate, as if it had witnessed something it was never meant to see. Cain stood frozen, his breath heavy, his hands trembling, his eyes unable to accept what lay before him. Abel did not move. The warmth of life that once flowed through him had departed, leaving behind a stillness that mocked Cain's anger and shattered his pride. Cain had imagined release. He had imagined that once Abel was gone, the pressure inside him would fade, the jealousy would dissolve, and the fire consuming his chest would finally rest. But what replaced it was heavier, darker, and far more terrifying. Guilt did not arrive as tears or regret. It arrived as fear, a fear that crawled into his thoughts and whispered that the world now knew what he had done, even if no human eyes had seen it. Time passed, but Cain could not move. His mind replayed the moment again and again. The sound, the resistance, the sudden weakness, the way Abel had looked at him not with hatred, but with confusion and pain. That look followed Cain more closely than any witness ever could. He realized then that killing his brother did not erase Abel's presence. It imprisoned Cain with it forever. When the voice of God reached Cain, it was not thunderous. It was not loud. It was calm, measured, and heavy with truth. Where is your brother Abel? The question was not asked because God lacked knowledge. It was asked because Cain was being given a final chance to face himself. But Cain's heart had already hardened. The lie escaped his lips before his conscience could stop it. I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? With those words, humanity crossed another boundary. Not only had the first life been taken, but the first lie spoken in defense of violence was now born. God's response carried a weight that echoed through generations. The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Cain learned in that moment that violence does not end in silence. Blood speaks. Actions echo. Consequences wait patiently. The punishment was not immediate death. Cain would live. He would walk the earth carrying what he had done. The ground he once worked would resist him. Stability would abandon him. He would become restless, unsettled, wandering not just across lands, but within his own soul. Cain feared something new now. Not judgment from God, but judgment from humanity. He feared that what he had done would one day be done to him. God placed a mark upon Cain. Not as honor, not as approval, but as protection. It was a sign that justice belongs to God alone. Even the first murderer would not be left to uncontrolled revenge. This moment shaped one of the deepest realities of human existence. Punishment does not erase mercy, and mercy does not deny justice. They coexist in tension, just as they have since the time of Adam. Cain left, carrying the weight of exile. Every step away from his family was a reminder of what he had destroyed. Adam and Eve were left with a wound no parent should ever endure. They had witnessed the fall, exile from the garden, struggle, pain, and now the loss of a child by the hand of another child. Humanity's first family had become its first broken family. Grief entered the human home, and it never left. The aftermath of Abel's death did not end with Cain's departure. It spread quietly through generations. Fear entered human relationships. Trust weakened. The understanding that one human could raise a hand against another changed how people looked at one another. Violence was no longer an abstract possibility. It was a lived reality. Humanity had learned that evil was not only external temptation, but an internal choice. Cain's life continued, but peace never returned. He built, he moved, he survived, yet the restlessness remained. Civilization advanced, but the wound at its foundation was never healed. The first city was built by a man carrying the memory of blood. From the very beginning, human progress walked side by side with moral conflict. Abel, though gone, did not disappear from history. His story became a symbol of innocence, sincerity, and acceptance. He represented the truth that righteousness does not guarantee safety in a world where envy exists. Cain became a symbol as well, not of pure evil, but of unchecked desire, wounded pride, and the refusal to confront one's inner darkness. This aftermath teaches a lesson more unsettling than the act itself. The greatest danger is not anger alone, but anger left unchallenged. Not temptation, but surrender to it. Cain was not born a murderer. He became one step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision. And so does every form of injustice that follows in human history. The descendants of Adam inherited more than bloodlines. They inherited this struggle, the struggle between humility and pride, between patience and rage, between responsibility and denial. The story of Cain and Abel did not end in that field.